We all know that new and sexy, in a sense, sells. And when it comes to card design, Konami is frequently full speed ahead producing new archetypes and further bolstering existing anime decks, understandably. Unfortunately, this design philosophy has left numerous archetypes in its wake lacking sufficient support. While some of these archetypes receive new support periodically years later, a significant number do not. This is my top 10 list of archetypes that are rather underdeveloped that still have interesting enough themes and or competitive potential that they should be at the top of the list for new support. Note that to qualify for this list, the archetype in question could only have 10 or less direct support to its name. Anime cards do not count, only OCG and TCG existing cards, although I don't think that this restriction actually mattered. The criteria for the list was my personal affinity or like of the archetype, how interesting the archetype is, and how competitive it could be based on its current existing support and the reasonable potential of future support and what that support could look like. Well, with that, let's get started. Number 10, Celtic Guardian. One of the original monsters in the entire game brandished by Yugi, it is understandable why Celtic Guardian did not receive an archetype slant, for Dark Magician was certainly the money card for Yugi, and understandably so. However, with the existence of Guard of Noble Arms, one wonders why Celtic Guardian does not have greater support to justify this card's effect and very existence. What direction would the archetype develop? With the existence of obnoxious Celtic Guardian, one strategy would simply be more Celtic Guardian type retrained monsters, almost an extended family. Instead of one Celtic Guardian, oh no, there's 8 Celtic Guardians. And each family member could have a unique and interesting effect. And in combination with Guard of Noble Arms, they could produce some interesting and unique strategies. Number 9, Dark Scorpion. The concept of Dark Scorpion has always been interesting to me. A group of bandits working together to carry out nefarious deeds on the field and produce victory with some underhanded methods. The strategy has some solid support cards, with Meanie as a good searcher, Gorg with his top of the deck spin ability, limiting the ability of the opponent to respond and quasi stunning him. Don Zalug was once a staple in a lot of different decks with its discard from hand ability, and even Chick's information ability when looking at that top card and potentially stealing it away from the opponent by putting it at the bottom of the deck has its uses. However, for Scorpions to work in the modern meta, new support would have to address their big weakness of having to inflict battle damage to receive their effects. Another quality support card would be a retrained Don Zalug with Dark Scorpion in its name, like Dark Scorpion Boss, Don Zalug. There is definitely some quality potential in this deck if the new support is designed the right way. Number 8, Venom Onaga, the deity of poisonous snakes. While Naga was supposed to be the boss monster of sorts for the Venom archetype, that archetype is so poorly designed that I feel a new archetype would have to be built around Naga and her associate Venomon, the king of poisonous snakes, to produce something that could be competitive. If memory serves, Deity was the first I'm immune to everything card, which was perfectly fair for the resources and time required to summon it. With a fair alternative win condition and somewhat overall interesting design, a new archetype for the deity could easily be a positive step for fun and more strategic play in Yu-Gi-Oh! Number 7, Wind Witch. Due to a lack of support, Wind Witches have been relegated to an engine in a number of decks, a quality engine, but an engine nonetheless. In some respects, Wind Witches maybe were supposed to be a form of supplement to Speedroids based on their existence and relationship to that deck in the anime, but that's just too bad because the deck definitely has a solid enough backbone to produce a competitively viable deck on its own if given more support, due to its strong special summoning and synchro capacity. What would it need? Another couple quality monsters and some good spell and trap support because the two cards from the anime are certainly not quality, at least in my opinion. Number 6, Trap Trick. Traptrix is an interesting themed deck due to its relationship with normal trap holes, as well as a solid core of main deck monsters and a fantastic extra deck boss monster that, in a sense, ties the entire deck together. However, with no spell or trap support and a mixed typing among their monsters between insects and plants, they would definitely need some good spell and trap support, specifically noting trap tricks, including an archetype specific trap hole card, as well as one or two more high quality monsters to blossom into a competitive archetype all their own. Instead of being relegated to a quasi engine in a deck full of various other engines or another core archetype. Number 5, Mallow Voris. Despite only having 3 monsters to their name, the Silverware archetype has a lot of potential due to the interesting swarming strategies behind the existing monsters that could evolve into something just annoying to plain nasty with the right support. This archetype could be great within the rank 2 family, link plays, or even some rank up plays. With only 3 monsters, but those monsters having a lot of recursion and special summoning capacity, there is a lot of flexibility in design choice for future support. Number 4, Penguin. Sure to be a fan favorite, if ever expanded, at the moment, Penguins have some solid untapped potential with great from deck summoning in Great Emperor, bounce with Nightmare and Soldier, combo potential with Guard, and even more removal with no Penguin. Obviously, like most of these heavily underdeveloped archetypes, Penguins would be best served with some quality spell and trap support, along with another 1 to 2 quality monsters and a better boss monster than Emperor. In all fairness, Emperor's more of a connector combo card than a real boss monster. However, in the sense of fairness, because of Emperor's effect, we would make this boss monster unable to be summoned from the deck. All the choices on the list, I believe that a Penguin archetype would be the best received by the community. Technically, there are 10 cards in this archetype, but 2 are normal monsters, and 1 is Fluffle Penguin, which obviously does not belong. Number 3, Aqua Actress. These water thespians may have the most untapped potential of any of the decks on this list, for they have monsters that continuously plus and spell and traps that provide quality defense. Unfortunately, while the skeleton of the deck is well built and strong, there is certainly not enough meat on those bones, and overall the archetype lacks a strong win condition. For Arowana is a good solid searcher, but not much of a boss monster. Some of the future design could involve using the continuous spells in a cumulative aspect relative to monster effects. With the generally solid attribute support provided by water, new support could see some immediate dividends in Aqua Actress competitiveness. Number 2, Trimid. I am actually quite surprised that Trimids did not get the full support treatment based on their interesting theme involving field spell interaction and exchange, and the origins of the anime being in Egypt. The monster core for the archetype is solid, including a great setup card in Hunter and a very underrated boss monster in Sphinx, along with a solid interrupter in Pulse. There is effective synergistic cross support with existing generic rock type support as well. What would the archetype need? Maybe a card that returns banished monsters and field spells to the graveyard, and some more quality monsters. And finally, number 1, Belgrad. Belgrad has amazing potential to be competitive with its strong boss monster in Divine Dragonlord, strong combo and setup potential with Paladin and Guardian, along with strong backup support from generic dragon support cards. What would the archetype need? Obviously, quality spell and trap support, for despite the strong association they have with generic dragon support, there are some holes because of the warrior standing of Paladin and Guardian. Also, a couple of level 4 main deck monsters to supplement Paladin and Guardian would go a long way to support the archetype as well. From a competitive standpoint, Belgrad has the most potential out of all the decks on this archetype, and that's saying something because I kind of like Aqua Actresses a lot. Well, that is my top 10 list of heavily underdeveloped archetypes that I would like to see receive some new support to the point where they could actually be fully developed as an archetype and playable. So, you, the viewer, what are some archetypes that I might have missed that you see have been significantly unfinished? It's not an issue that they have a bunch of support and that support's just bad and you want them to have new support. They have potential if they just got cards. They just don't have enough cards. Well, thank you for your attention and your time. I'm out.